Okay, so what we're looking at right here is the Equity Relocation Services website. And if you just go to your to any web page and type in equityrelocationservices.com, this is the home page. When somebody wants to submit a lead, then they can just come in here and click Get Started Today. We have learned over the past couple of weeks, and this is a new program to Equity, but we have learned that some computers, usually ones with smaller screens. We actually had a problem with a MacBook Pro, but if for some reason you come in here and you click Get Started Today, and I'll take you through that. So you're going to enter in your information, your lead information and stuff. If somebody doesn't contact you within, it should be fairly quickly, within a few hours, but let's say 24 hours goes by and nobody contacts you, then there has been a glitch. And it's a programming thing. We actually are using software that we've paid for to manage these programs. And with that software, there are some limitations. So first of all, up front, understand that if you're putting in a lead and you're doing it on a smartphone, there's a good chance that it's just the way the pixels work, because you're typing in information, and for some reason, when it gets sent, none of it shows up, okay? So if you're going to enter in a lead, I would recommend do it from an actual computer. So here's what you need to put in. If you're the referring agent, put in your contact information, put in the client's contact information. What this is not designed for is if I'm paying for Zillow leads, and I know that most of them are crap, and so I'm going to just come in here and put everything in here and let somebody else filter their way through them. That is not what this program is designed for, all right? This is designed for relocations or referrals. So somebody that you know, that you have a personal relationship with, that knows that we're going to be calling them, all right? So for the referring agent, we make it very easy. You simply put in this information right here, as much information as possible. It helps us do a better job, and that's about it. Hit submit down here at the bottom, okay? Most of the time you can leave these fields blank down here because we'll find a qualified broker for you, and I'll tell you about that in a second. If you have somebody that you know you want to send it to and you want us to contact them specifically, then you can put that information in here yourself, okay? So let me go back. Another one of the #1 questions that we had after our last webinar that we did is what now? So a lot of agents went through the program, they wanted to be certified, but we didn't have this information ready. So since then, we've added a page to the website, the certification page. So for you guys that are on now, hopefully you won't have this question. Steps to get the designation. Email Tom Hoffman. Now if you're on here with me, you don't have to email Tom because you're jumping right to step 2. Attend the training webinar with me. Thank you. And once you've completed the course, again, I'll send the report to Tom with everybody that's been attentive for 90% of the time. And again, if you're distracted with emails and stuff, there's a good chance that you won't meet that criteria. So Tom will then look at those that have met the criteria of attending the training, and he'll contact your broker and make sure that you qualify under a couple of other areas, which I'm going to cover here shortly. And if you do qualify in those areas, Tom will then reach out to you. He'll give you a little welcome message, and he'll ask you for your information. So get your complete information and the areas that you cover, okay, different cities and such that you can cover. So if we get a referral for Clearfield City and you're listed as an agent in Clearfield, then we can consider you for that lead. So this is what it takes for that ERS certification. So once you're done with the training, you don't have to do anything. I'll send the report to Tom. Tom will contact your broker, and then Tom will contact you. If for some reason, maybe a week has gone by and you haven't heard from anybody, because it might take a little while to get your broker, you know, to check some numbers for us and stuff. If for some reason you haven't heard anything within a week, then you certainly are welcome to email Tom, and again, you can just click right there to have Tom's email. Tom Hoffman has a lot of experience with relocation services, and he has been generous enough with his time to head up this program for us out of our corporate office. So with that said, let's jump into our our training here. All right. Equity Relocation Services, the designation, and just for information too. So if some of you are on here and you just want the information, you don't want the designation, that's fine. All right, first of all, our expectations for you. Like I said earlier, we have high expectations. Our goals or our vision for what we want to do with this program is we would like to have a great track record of providing an excellent level of service across the board, okay? Not just from our agents, but also from our relocation department, and following up and making sure that the communication is there and the follow-up is there. If we can do this, then this will open a lot of doors to us all across the country. It'll open doors to us as far as expanding our equity network. Right now we're in, I think, 14 states, so this is already opened up contact with agents in other states that we could possibly grow further into, which is good for all of us. But it also opens up some opportunities for each of us to possibly contact businesses. There's a lot of agents whose spouse or friends work in companies that have relocation programs. And Tom actually emailed me just a couple of days ago an example of one where their ratings are just terrible. They don't provide a great level of service. So if we can have a high level of service and have a proven track record where we can show that we deliver on a regular basis this service, then it'll open some doors up for some possible big accounts for us. So that's why we want to ensure that we are constantly delivering the best. All right, let's go a quick overview here. First of all, any agent anywhere in the country, they don't even have to be with equity, can take advantage of our relocation service. So if they go to this website, they can enter in a lead and we'll take care of it from there. They don't have to do anything else for that. It's all going to be automatic. So that's very, very convenient. For example, let's say my grandmother in Florida, where equity does not yet exist, wants to move to New York, where equity does not exist. Well, right now, my options are, for about 95% of us, we just, we hear that grandma's moving and we think, oh, well, that's too bad. I wish I could have helped her out because she's down in Florida and I'm not, I'm in Utah, but I love grandma and I could have done her a good job, could have earned a commission maybe too. So, oh well, good luck grandma, right? And we move on with our lives. And it's a missed opportunity, both for us, and it's a missed opportunity because maybe grandma doesn't get the great service that she deserves. So with this program now, I can go in and put my grandma's information in where I just showed you guys, where she's moving from and where she's moving to, and Equity Relocation Services will find a great agent in that area. Now, we prioritize with equity agents that are certified as an ERS agent. So if there's an equity agent there, it'll go to them first. If not, then we're looking at Consumer Residential Special, or I think that's the designation, CRS, Consumer Residential Specialist. I don't know. Certified Residential Specialist. I even have the designation. I just don't even know what it stands for. Certified Relocation or Residential Specialist. Excuse me. So Certified Residential Specialist is one of the highest designations you can have in the country out of all the designations, because you can't just go to a class and get it. You have to have a lot of experience in order to qualify for that designation. So both Tom and I are members of that. That gives us access to an address book of other CRS agents. So we go to them first and we build relationships with them, communicate to them what we're expecting, and they in turn give my grandma a great service in Florida. A different one gives her a great service in New York. And just because I told grandma I was going to take care of her and to expect a phone call, I put her information in there. I'm going to make 25% from Florida and 25% from New York, and it's going to be good for everyone. So That's the process, pretty easy process. What our relocation department is going to do is when you enter that information in, we're going to contact the client to confirm that it's a legitimate lead. So again, if it's a referral or a relocation, it needs to be somebody that you know. It cannot be a cold lead. If it's a cold lead, we're not going to mess with it, okay? So it needs to be somebody, and you need to have them warmed up saying, hey, you're going to get a call from our relocation department. Then again, we're going to assign that client to an ERS agent. If there isn't one available, we'll find another qualified professional. And then on a weekly basis, every Friday, we're going to follow up with that agent to make sure that they are progressing and that the client is receiving the best service. So every Friday, they get an email saying, give me an update, and they can type it in or they can just email back, whatever. It's pretty convenient for the receiving agent to send the update, but every Friday they have to send an update. If they don't, then they'll be removed from our registry. We'll send it to somebody else, because both the referring agent and the client, well, the referring agent wants to make sure the client's taken care of, but we want to make sure the client's taken care of as well, okay? So we need that weekly reporting to make sure that is done. So we're doing quite a bit of follow-up for you to make sure that your person is taken care of, all right? Let's look at some of the general requirements, and this is one of the things that we're going to verify with your broker after you take the class. If you want this designation, we'll verify with your broker that you meet these requirements. Number one, you need to be a full-time real estate agent. If you're part-time, if you have another job, then by all means you can use it as referrals. Maybe you can set a goal to become full-time, but especially with relocations, they come in from out of town and they need an agent dedicated to them full-time for a day or two, all right? And they can't wait around for somebody that can't respond for 4 or 5 hours because they're still working their other job. So unfortunately, this will bar some agents from being able to participate until they become full-time, but we are requiring that you be a full-time agent. Another thing is you have to have a minimum of 10 closed transactions a year. So we don't require you to be a mega producer. In fact, sometimes mega producers are too busy to do this, but if you're closing about 10 transactions a year, it means you're involved enough with your business that it pays the basic bills, you don't have to have another job, and you know what you're doing, okay? So you got to be full-time and actually produce as well. Dress professionally for every appointment, should go without saying. Have adequate, clean transportation. Again, a lot of times when I'm driving clients around locally, they drive their own cars, but if it's somebody coming in from out of state, quite often I'll be picking them up and driving them around. So have adequate, clean transportation. Another thing that we expect of you is that you commit to making contact with the referred client within 2 hours maximum of receiving the referral. So when you get that referral, and again, it'll probably just come as an email to your inbox, you need to acknowledge that quickly and reach out and make contact right away. If you don't do that and we see a track record of non-responsiveness, then again, there's a high likelihood that you will either fall down our list as a preferred agent to send things to, or possibly we'll just not consider you having that designation any longer until you come back and say, hey, I'm recommitted now, and I took care of whatever issues were keeping me from meeting this requirement, okay? So we want people that are prompt and responsive. We also expect you to follow the ERS buyer program and listing program in all cases, and I'm going to go over those here today. If you joined me for my other buyer training and listing training, that's the highest level of service. We've got a few extra things that we're going to add for the case of a relocation person, that, just specific to that scenario, but otherwise, we're going to actually expect you to provide those things. When I give the training, you do what you want, okay? But if you want this designation, we want you to provide the highest level of service that you possibly can. The next thing is that you need to understand is that if you're the receiving agent, then we're charging 35% for that referral. Obviously, 25% is going to the referring agent, and the remaining 10% is what pays for this system. It pays for the software, and it pays for Tom's time and it pays for the ongoing training and whatnot that you're going to be able to receive. Okay. When we compare this, I don't know if any of you have previous experience with relocation companies. I know our first webinar that we did, we had several people that had, and they typed in the question panel here and said, this is very competitive. You know, most of the competition is around 40–45% when you're talking about relocation companies. So we are competitive, as with everything that we do, but there is a cost to maintain the system. So again, 95% of the agents with the grandma moving from Florida to New York would simply miss out on that business. In this case, I'll get the 25 and the 25. There are a few agents out there, and we recognize this, that when they hear grandma's moving from Florida to New York, they're going to get on the phone and they're going to scramble and they're going to call an agent and, you know, maybe call 10 agents and try to pre-screen them and find somebody really good for grandma. And of course, they can negotiate whatever split they want if they want to do that work. We figure that by and large, the majority, the vast majority of agents will find the convenience of this system to be well worth using. And so we think that this will generate a lot of business for us that is currently being missed. So make sure that you share the idea of this system with other agents as well. All right, and by the way, if you have questions as we go through this on anything, feel free to go to the question panel on the webinar dashboard panel and just type it in. I've got everybody muted so that, you know, we don't have a lot of distractions, but I do want to interact with you if you have questions as we go through here. All right, for our buyer program, this is above and beyond what I train for in our regular webinars. We would like you to assemble a relocation information kit. This is an idea that we got from Realtor Magazine, and I think it's a fantastic idea for people specifically that are coming from out of town. If it's somebody that's in town, they don't need this, okay? And in fact, I was one of the guinea pigs for the relocation service. We wanted to be able to know how it works, so I got it's a $130,000 buyer. It's a very small transaction, but it's local. Okay, the guy isn't coming from out of town. He's just a referral from another agent for the Logan area, and he's from Logan. He's just trying to buy his very first house. Okay, so I don't need to give him a relocation information kit because he's familiar with the area. But for those who aren't, who are coming in from out of town or possibly even out of state, this could be very valuable. Now, you can do this in two ways. You could assemble this electronically, you know, whether it be in links to different town sites or something. You could be creative and do that, or you can actually hand assemble a packet like this is right here. It's up to you on how you do it, but we want you to have something like this ready to go. So visit your local Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center, pick up flyers and brochures about local activities, parks, and recreation. Get stuff there for children as well, just in case that comes up. And you can pass on coupons or discounts for local restaurants and events. If you've done my training and you've got the power team concept going, then again, that gives you a leg up here and an advantage to provide even more value to the client. Step 2. Gather and include information about schools, medical facilities, utilities, public transportation services and shopping, and a list of short-term rental options, extended stay hotels, or possibly even storage units as, again, a resource for people that are moving in from out of state and may need some of those services. Step 3, a simple moving checklist. And a lot of you guys have that already. It's just a convenience thing for people. Include the local utility companies so that when they do move in, they know who to contact and can get all that stuff set in. Again, we're just trying to make their life a little bit more convenient. Step 4, grab a handful of USPS priority mail envelopes. They're free. Back at your office, have a couple of these kits pre-assembled, ready to go. All you have to do is type the client's name on a cover letter, drop it in there, and you can mail it off. Again, if you're doing this electronically, then you've got a list of sites. It could be city sites, county sites, some of the recreation stuff. links to those types of things. Most of the stuff you can do electronically, and again, you can have that saved, ready to copy and paste specific things to the different areas of the communities that you're in. So for example, if I'm in Davis County, and I've got things for some different cities, I don't want to give them contact for a lot of things that aren't a part of, that for example, if I've got something in Bountiful, got their own utilities, I want to give them Bountiful's information. I don't want to give them generic stuff that doesn't pertain to them. So again, you can have a list of all of those links saved up, ready to go, copy and paste those into the mailer that you're going to send to the person, and you can help facilitate this move for them. All right. As an added bonus, you could, if it's somebody that comes in and they're staying at a hotel or something like that, consider sending them a simple fruit basket or something else. Give them some healthy snacks that they can use when they're driving around with you. Maybe the first time that you meet them and pick them up, you could bring something and say, hey, this is a little welcoming gift to our city. Again, just something that we can start using. It's above and beyond their expectations, things that will get us rave reviews, all right? So step one, again, you got to call the lead within 2 hours of delivery of the lead to you, send the relocation information kit. The next thing that we want to do is we want to be personal with these people. We want to know that we're caring about them. If this is my grandma, I don't want somebody to call her on the phone and just start sending her hot sheets, okay? I want somebody to go down and sit down with grandma and walk her through the process of selling her home in Florida. Somebody else that, if she's visiting New York, they could sit down with her there, or they could even do a little phone conference and say, hey, you're coming here. Let me tell you what you can expect of New York and of my services in particular. I want you to know how well you're going to be taken care of so that this can be stress-free for you, okay? So set an appointment with the potential buyer to meet them in person. If they're out of town, do it over the phone. You can do it by Skype or something like that if you want to. FaceTime if they've got that capability, but even just doing it over the phone can work for them. Okay, so we're going to just talk to them, and this would be where we kind of do that buyer presentation. And if you've, again, taken my trainings online, if you haven't, you can go to YouTube, type in Elite Agent Training, all as one word, subscribe to my channel there, and watch through the buyer training. You can also walk through the listing training, which is a separate one that I have saved on there. But if you can go to those places and understand how to do a buyer presentation and have something like that ready for them, it can really help alleviate their fears and help them feel more comfortable. You should be able to, in almost every case, sign an exclusive buyer-broker agreement up front. You're going to have a huge advantage because people have been referred by somebody they already know and trust, and they said, hey, we're going to get you one of the best agents in that area. They're going to take great care of you. So when you've got that kind of a witness saying that you do a good job, and then you take some time, if you sent them the relocation information kit, you call them almost immediately, and then you sat down with them and you took some time for them to understand, there's almost a 0% chance that they won't sign an exclusive agreement with you up front. So once they sign that, again, just to help them understand the whole process, there's the due diligence forms. That would be things like for your protection, get a home inspection, that kind of stuff, okay? So they understand, again, the whole process. Next, we're going to get them pre-qualified with a trusted lender. So yes, I do want you to meet with them first before you send them off to a lender. The reason being is that lenders quite often have other relationships with different realtors besides yourself. That means that if you send them to a lender, and if it's your lender, you got a pretty good chance it's going to come back to you. However, if you haven't met with them first and you don't have an exclusive agreement signed with them, and they go talk with the lender that you gave them the name of, there's a great chance they'll probably talk to their own bank. Maybe they'll talk to some friends and say, this is what we're thinking of doing, and I'd like a second opinion of another lender. So any of those other lenders they talk to will be actively trying to send them to their real estate agent. because they don't have a commitment to you. You haven't met with them. They don't understand your value yet. And if the lender says, all right, but I have a fantastic agent you should consider using, at least interview this guy, then you now stand a good shot of losing that business, which is bad for you and it's bad for the referring agent. It makes both of you lose makes especially the referring agent lose confidence in the system, which if we have enough of that, it dries up the system. So we want you to have an exclusive agency agreement signed with them. Now, is there a chance that you go out and meet with them in the case of a buyer and you find out later on when you have them sent to a lender, you find out that they don't qualify? Yeah, there is a chance of that happening. And you may have wasted a good hour of your time. Well, in my opinion, and I've always said this, that can be an hour very well spent. Stay in contact with the person. Treat them like a human being. If they've got bad credit, nobody else in this industry has treated them like that. They've all treated them like they've got leprosy. Okay, so treat them well. Follow up with them occasionally. Connect them with your lender and have them start the credit repair process. Okay, these people need to be shown some love because they don't understand, for whatever reason it is, whether they don't understand how credit works or they've just had some bad things happen to them in life. They need somebody that cares about them enough to help them improve their situation. And that's what we're all about, especially with this program. All right? So we're going to meet with them first, sign the exclusive agreement, then we get them pre-qualified. And if there is a hiccup, that's okay. We still love them. We still take care of them. And it might be 6 months later that we get the job done for them. But during that 6 months, they'll be well cared for with our lender. And, of course, we're going to follow up with them on a regular basis. Once we've got them pre-qualified, now we can start sending them homes that match their search criteria. Because until we know if they're qualified, we shouldn't be sending them anything because we're going to be sending them stuff that they don't qualify for. All right, so we'll send them that complete list of homes, and then we want them to filter out their top 10 to 20 homes and then designate the top 5 or 6. If they're coming in from out of town, they might do 10 because they'll do some marathon appointments with you. But we want them to know that they have seen everything. And this is part of your step 3 there. When you talk to them about the process, prep them for this and say, you know what, you tell me what criteria you're looking for. We'll get you qualified with the lender. And then I'll run a search for stuff that meets that criteria. And I'm going to send you everything. I'm not going to filter it beyond what you've told me to do so that when the purchase decision comes, you know that you've seen everything on the market. There's no question niggling in the back of your mind saying, well, did the realtor really show me everything? Is he steering me towards certain communities or something like that? I want you to understand that that's not going to happen. You're going to see everything out there. When you see everything, it could be 60 homes. I want you to narrow it down to your top 10. And we'll go out and we'll see those first. And if one of those really catches your eye, then you'll feel more confident making an offer on that, knowing that you've seen everything else already, at least online, if not in person. All right? And that can really help streamline how quickly these people move through the process. And again, it's convenient for you and it's good for them. Okay? Most buyers, if you're out showing hundreds of homes, they're extremely frustrated. Okay? It's tiring, it's exhausting, and they start to lose hope. And that only happens, in my experience, when I haven't done these steps in this order. Okay? All right. Every Friday, again, we're going to ask for you to send a report to us. We're going to send you an email saying, give us the report. We're going to expect you to respond. Okay? Give us an update of the status of your client. Have you got them pre-qualified? Have you taken them shopping? Are they under contract? Have they done their inspection yet? That kind of stuff. We want to know that they're moving through the process, okay? So that is the buyer program. Let's move on to the listing program here. We're going to have 4 different categories: prior to the listing, at the listing, marketing, and client reporting, okay? Again, we want to provide a high-level service. So simply prior to the listing, and I'm not going to go a ton of detail into this stuff because, again, I do this with my training. You're a full-time agent. If you're in this program, you're full-time and you're closing 10 deals a year, so you know how to do the business. If there are ways that you can polish up your business, then that's great. But prior to the listing, we basically want to be seen as an expert. So we're going to gather information from various sources. We're going to talk to them, detailed information about their home. And again, that phone call comes within 2 hours of getting the lead. Then we're going to check the MLS. We're going to check with title. We're going to gather information from every source that we can so that when we show up there, they see us as what we've been presented as by the referring agent. The referring agent said, you're going to meet with one of the best agents in that area. So if we show up and we don't know anything, we don't come across like that. So we want to be prepared, all right? When we are prepared, then let's see. Okay, when we are prepared, it makes life at the listing presentation better. Now, this is something that I want to drive home to you, okay? And again, if you've taken my listing training, I go into this in a lot of detail. Keep your listing presentation simple. People want to know that you care about them, that you have heard their concerns, and that you're aware of their needs. All right? They don't care that you have a full color bound presentation that costs you $30 to print up, okay? They really don't. For the first probably 4 years of my business, everything was black and white with a paper clip. And I won business all the time over people that had these full color bindings. And how do I know that? Because I saw their full color bindings sitting there on the coffee table, and they hadn't hired that agent. So show up, be prepared, have your information solid and ready to go. And again, for our certified agents, I don't think we have a lot to worry about this. Keep your presentation simple. Find out about their needs. Keep an open dialogue with them. It's not so much a presentation as a discussion between the two of you, but a 40-minute presentation should give you plenty of time to discuss price and sign paperwork. And again, for more details on that, go watch my listing training if you feel like you need to polish that up a little bit. One thing that I wanted to point out is, just as a great strategy for closing the sale, offer a couple commission options, but resist cutting commissions if at all possible. Remember that the referring agent is expecting a 25% cut of that, and so we had a broker from California on with us last time, and he said in our area, if it's anything over 400, I think it was 400 or 600,000, it is a standard 2%. That is what everybody does, because a standard 2% BAC, or I think it was a 4% total listing, just because everything on our area is expensive, and so this is what it is. So in that case, it's not possible to do the 6%. In some cases, I might say, hey, I really want to use you, but I do have this other agent that was going to do it for 5%. So if you'll match that, otherwise we're going to have to go with them. So avoid cutting your commissions if at all possible, but if you have to get the job done, then do it, but be reasonable. You know, if they're trying to get you below like a 5% commission or something, then you can also walk away and just give that report saying, hey, I did get the referral, I called them immediately, I went down and met with them, and they wanted me to do it for free, you know, or 3%, or they're trying to compare me with these flat rate listing companies. And I remember from the training they said, don't discount if at all possible, so I had to pass up on the business. That's okay. We'll convey that information back to the referring agent. He can call Grandma back up and say, Grandma, quit being such a cheap A. You know, you need to be taken care of by somebody good. And anyways, couple examples are you can even charge more. At 7%, provide some extra services. Help them. You know, I've got agents that do moving services, or they provide all the boxes and 3 movers for a couple of hours, something like that. And they charge an extra % to provide that. Or you can do the 6% standard, okay? But I really like when I get to the closing of my listing presentation, I say, so here's my program. I've got 2 or 3 different options for you. This is what they are. 7% I provide this, and 6% is this. And if you're moving locally, I do a 5% for them if they're moving locally. How do you feel about this program? And you know, which one of these seems to fit your need the best? And obviously, if Grandma's moving from Florida to New York, the 5% wouldn't apply, so she can choose between the 6% or whatever extra services you might have. But I like that closing. Which one of these scenarios fits your situation the best? Not, do you like me? Can we be friends? Just, you avoid that awkward stuff. You also avoid the hard, pushy, aggressive, close types of things that are running rampant out there as well. Listing appointment. We want to kill as many birds with this stone as possible. So after we've signed the listing, we're going to give them some homework. We're going to say, you know what? I'll be back in a couple of days to get the sign in the yard, get a key box on the property, take professional photos for the photo tour. So I'm going to need a copy of a key made. I'm going to need to, we're going to have the house cleaned up and ready to go. And of course, you can walk through and give them some staging advice at that point. But I'm going to need some of this done and ready to go. When is a good day? All right, on Thursday, I'll be out there and we'll get this all taken care of. We'll have it all ready by then, okay? And then, of course, we're going to begin our marketing. What you need to do is you need to send copies of all your marketing efforts to the client for their review. So you posted it on the MLS, fantastic. Immediately send them a link of the MLS or a PDF of it. Send that to them and say, here, I've put it on the MLS. Please review this for accuracy and let me know if I need to make any changes. And usually in my listing presentation, I'll tell them that. If you, for example, I've had people say, there's a fishing pond a block away. We think that's a great asset, and you didn't mention that. Fantastic. I'll put that in. We'll get it changed immediately for you, okay? So I put it on the MLS. They see it. I put it on my website. They get a copy with a link that they can click on. I create a single property website for it. They get a link to that. I create a YouTube video for it. They get a link to that. We're going to blow their socks off with the level of service that we're going to do for them. Every week, every Friday, I'm going to follow up with them and send them a report of all my marketing activities that I've done for them. I have an automated system that does follow-up on showings where they get emailed automatically that feedback. If you don't have that, then call them every Monday, gather your showing reports from the week, and assemble that so you can give that to them every week as well, maybe on a Tuesday. So, get your feedback on Monday, send them a report on Tuesday with the feedback. But have those follow-up dates set and deliver that every single time. Don't be hit and miss on this, okay? We need a report on it every Friday as well, so you might as well make that report to the clients. And of course, submit your listing packet in to Equity Real Estate as soon as you've got all the listing paperwork signed and assembled. I want to give you some advertising tools. And again, I cover all of this stuff in more detail on my trainings, on the Elite Agent training with my YouTube channel. But some of the things that you can do, if you're wondering, or if you're squeamish at all about calling them every Friday, it's because you don't have enough stuff going on for them. You need to be able to call them or email them and say, here's a list of the marketing activities we've done for you this week. I've put you in my newsletter. Hopefully you got a copy of that, but I featured you in my newsletter. Here's you on my Pro Agent website. Here's your professional photo tour. I delivered flyers or postcards with your house for sale to 100 of the local neighbors so that everybody around you knows about it. List Hub is a broker subscription that your broker can pay for. It's pretty inexpensive for them, and that gives you access to push it out to over 900 sites nationwide. And again, if you want more detail on this stuff, go watch my training on that YouTube channel. Create a separate website for each listing. Listing Booster is a great program. You can partner with a mortgage lender on that to be able to provide that. You can post it on Zillow. I know in our area, our MLS actually does not share information with Zillow because of their lawsuit and mismanaging information. So we have to go in and physically post it on Zillow, but people want to see it there because Zillow and Trulia, those are two big sites nationwide. So just because they've had a beef with our MLS doesn't mean the client should suffer. So I physically post it to those sites, and the big problem with Zillow mismanaging information is resolved because I'm physically posting it there. I've got control over it. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, however you push it out there on social media, YouTube videos, all of these things, the client gets an email saying, here you are on Facebook, share this with your friends, okay? So that'll give you a lot of different stuff that you can do. You don't want to be the best kept secret in town. We've heard this phrase of being a secret agent. That is not what our ERS agents are. Okay, our clients know that we do a fantastic job. We're going to attach a report from the MLS that shows them all the traffic. And again, I do that every week. They get an attached MLS report that shows the number of hits their site has had. They get links to websites and marketing venues that I'm doing on a weekly basis. They get showing reports and feedback from all the showings, at least the ones that will give us feedback. And then, of course, you're going to send a report on every client back to Tom Hoffman with the Equity Relocation Service. So he'll send you an email, and again, you'll just send him a quick email back, updating him on the status. So some of the resources at your disposal. With Equity, you've got, of course, the free ongoing training, CE classes, webinars, and more. We've got the free MLS integrated websites. That's your pro agent site. Make sure that you're using that, because especially for buyers as well, if they come into town and they're just driving around, they've got the mobile application that they can use for that as well. So Sharper Agent is something that we provide to you at half price. It's normally $40 a month. You can get it for $20. But if you want lots of marketing materials, drip campaigns, I don't like their CRM program personally, but they have the best marketing and the most marketing materials I've ever seen from any type of program. So we provide that to you at a discount as an extra resource. Another thing is a lot of those marketing things that we talked about with your listings, some of those expenses can be shared by a lender. You know, sending out a postcard to the surrounding neighborhood. My lender and I split the cost on that. We do that together. So there's some things, you know, the listing booster, we split the cost on that. So there's a lot of things that you can do, tools that you can open up for yourself that aren't very expensive, and you need a good mortgage lender because you need somebody for pre-qualification. All right, have your listing and buyer package prepared, ready for customization. We've got those ready for you in Elevate. You just need to go in and customize them. So if you've never created one, mostly everybody has a listing packet, but if you've never done the buyer package or buyer presentation, that's available for you in Elevate under the Marketing tab. If you don't use .loop, start learning how to do it. Okay, it's timely submission. I've got .oop on there. I need to fix that. It's timely submission. It's accurate reporting, and it records all of your interaction with the client. So if there is, heaven forbid, a claim that you're being negligent or you didn't send something to somebody, if you're using .loop, then we've got a permanent record that you did do a good job. All right, so it can help preserve your status as a relocation specialist, and it could, if it went far enough bad, it could help a lawsuit or even a report to your local division of real estate. All right, you've got your Pro Agent mobile website again that we talked about, that one of the reasons to use your MLS integrated website. And then remember to provide copies of all your documents to the client. And of course, if you're using .loop, then that's your best protection, and you're in compliance there, and you can prove it. So here's the bottom line. With the ERS designation, you've got better income, you've got additional training, you've got access to the best tools, the best support, and in the end, hopefully, those things all add up to be better all around for you. So we're actually able to get done in record time today. I didn't have any questions, though. I'm hoping that's because with all the questions we had from a couple of weeks ago and some of the streamlining things that we've done with this, that I've resolved those up front. But if I'm not that lucky and I didn't resolve all your questions or concerns, please take a moment now. I'm going to lower all the hands so that if you have a question, click that little webinar dashboard button to raise your hand and then type the question in the question panel. If I see a hand go up, then I'll wait around for a question, and I do see the hand up, so I'll wait for you to type that in to the question panel. If you have comments, thoughts, anything else, let me know that as well. All right, I've got a couple people that looks like they may be typing something in. I'm going to close this. Oh, there we go. Okay, somebody has asked, can we get copies of these slides to review? The answer is no, but I am recording this one. I didn't record the first one because I knew we would have some changes to make to it, but this one I am recording, and I will post this on our YouTube channel. However, and I'm glad you actually brought this up, because if an agent goes to the YouTube channel and watches it, and then emails Tom or me and said, hey, I watched this on the YouTube channel, they don't get credit for it. We're only giving credit for those that attend live, because it's the only way we can verify that you've actually were attentive for the 90% required time amount. So that's a good question. I will, again, have this available on YouTube. You can jump around to wherever you need to. But I'm not giving out the slides. All right, we've got another good question on here. Does the 35% cover the $4.99 broker fee as well? No, it doesn't. And with any company, that's pretty much the standard. You pay the 35% of the gross commission, and then you've got your company fees as well. Okay. Somebody else has asked, is this the same webinar that's scheduled for tomorrow? It actually is. I scheduled that one about 5 weeks ago, and I didn't pay attention, so that I had demand to do another one in the afternoon, so I scheduled this one today, and I didn't realize that they were back-to-back like that. So if you're attending this one today, you don't need to attend that one tomorrow, but I wanted to work it into our regular rotation so that even agents that aren't interested necessarily in the designation will know how this program works, okay? All right, somebody's asked, I attended live from just after 3 p.m. Will I receive credit? You should. I started about 3:04, something like that. So if you came on just afterwards, then you should get credit. Again, the webinar program actually records when you arrived and if you were attentive for the whole thing. So if there's a, if you're not quite 90%, let's say you're 85% attentive, then we're giving you the benefit of the doubt on that. All right, and then that same one, obviously you must have missed the very first part. How many other steps and how long will it take to get certified? Let me show you that here again. If you go to equityrelocationservices.com, then we've got those steps right here. So you're on step 2, attend the training webinar. Step 3, I emailed the report to Tom Hoffman, who's managing the program, and he will contact your broker to make sure that you meet the qualifying criteria that I covered here in the training. And if your broker says, yep, they're full-time, they close at least 10 transactions a year, then Tom will contact you directly with a little welcome email, and he'll ask for your contact information and the areas of service that you cover so that he can get you set up in the contact management software. All right? So some great questions. Any other questions, you guys? All righty, just got a couple of thank yous in there, so I think we're good to go. If you do have questions about this later on, you can always email me or Tom Hoffman. And again, for Tom's email, just go to equityrelocationservices.com, go to the certification page, and you can click right there. And Tom is great to respond. All right, so if you have questions, let us know, and I look forward to working with you guys. I'm excited about this program. I think it's going to be a great asset for those that are participating, and it's going to be a great service for everybody else, the other 95% of agents that don't get certified, but that can use this as a referral program, okay? If we have glitches, hitches in the road, bumps, things like that, again, email us right away. Like for that agent that sent in a lead, it was one of my agents. She sent in a lead, and it didn't get called for 3 days. And she said, hey, by the way, you should know that your program isn't working the way you said it was. Well, at that point, they were already frustrated. And so, but that brought to our attention that with a MacBook Pro, for some reason, the programming wasn't coming through. She was typing it in correctly. Software on our end worked correctly. It just, something with the pixels in those programs wasn't working. We expect a few speed bumps on the way as this is a new program. There's going to be a learning curve for us. So if you have questions, problems, or challenges, please communicate those to us, as soon as possible so that we can go in and level those out and make it a smoother ride for both yourself and moving forward with that client as well as for other people. All right, thank you guys for your time today. We'll go ahead and end it there, and I hope you guys have a great week. Again, my training tomorrow will be the same information, so if you've joined me for today, you don't need to come tomorrow unless you just want to revisit the information over again. Thank you and have a good night. Bye-bye.